People usually settle in areas resembling honeycombs, where everything is divided into boxes for the convenience of performing basic human functions such as sleep, eating, and periodic social events. But if you travel the world, you can find several utterly incredible places where it is inconvenient and difficult to live, and yet people reside there. We want to show them to you right now, from the coldest place on planet Earth to a mini-country in the middle of the sea. You're on the Top Facts channel, and we'll visit the 20 strangest human habitats worldwide. We wish you an exciting viewing experience, and of course, let's go. Better not to open your mouth in vain here, so you don't catch a cold. Yakutsk is officially recognized as the coldest city on the planet. The temperature in eastern Siberia regularly drops below 40 degrees Celsius in winter, and that's twice as cold as a freezer. The lowest temperature ever recorded, 60 degrees below zero, was recorded on January 2nd, 1951, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. How can people live, study, and work under such temperatures? Here, warm clothing is simply not enough. The city is located approximately 450 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle, and about 300,000 people live in the region. Summer also happens here, and the heat can also reach 40, but above zero. But imagine what it's like here in winter. Some things that are normal for us are simply impossible. For example, you can't wear glasses, they will simply freeze to your face. Driving is another story. Engines of cars and special transport must remain operational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If it stalls, you won't be able to restart it until the weather changes. Can you imagine the fuel costs and wear and tear on the car? Well, let's say you want to buy milk. Get ready, it will be hard as a brick. Frozen. No storage system will make the refrigerator warmer than the surrounding environment during transportation. But these are not the main difficulties. The main ones are that in winter the day lasts only 4 hours, and in summer, 21. A great place for an exciting life, to put it bluntly, a paradise for storing ice cream. Let's look at one of the strangest and most awkward houses in the world. The Casido Peno residence in northern Portugal is built between 4 huge rocks on a high hill, and although the house was erected only in 1972, it looks very primitive. The construction is quite rudimentary inside. There is no electricity, and living there is probably not what everyone would dream of. Just a strange building attracts tourists who are thinking about a retreat. The owners got so tired of the annoying attention that they moved away, and now the house hosts a museum with historical photos and souvenirs. Unfortunately, the house also attracts vandals, which is why bars and even bulletproof windows have already been installed here. The Villa Girasole in northern Italy, built in the 1930s near Verona, was not constructed as an example of architectural beauty, but as an innovative structure. The uniqueness lies in the fact that the house rotates, following the sun, exactly as sunflowers do. The architect designed a turning mechanism that accurately catches sunlight. Why, you may ask? The idea is to harness the light for potential health benefits, or perhaps simply because someone likes to read books in natural daylight without having to turn their chair or move to another room. Thus, the house resembles not so much a flower as a space station, but its remarkable structure has been functioning flawlessly to this day. The house rotates as needed. This unique location is situated in the southern Spanish region of Andalusia, Sanil de Bodega, a beautiful town among those known as white villages or Pueblo Blanco. Indeed, all the buildings there are white, as if some architect built this ensemble in one go. The town is charming, and its special fame is not only due to its color. Many homes here are embedded into rock slopes, providing shelter from the incredible heat. The rock serves as both a roof and a rain shelter, which, although rare, does happen, offering shade and coolness inside the houses. Even some parts of the streets are covered with a stone canopy like a gallery. It is a very unusual use of landscape, but undeniably skillful and wise. It's a real pleasure to wander these snowy white streets, isn't it? The village with an unpronounceable name, located in China directly on a cliff at an elevation of 800 meters, has gained fame in recent years thanks to the internet and has become a tourist destination. People used to live here who were so poor that necessity compelled them to cling to the cliff, literally living on the edge. To reach the village, you had to climb a series of shaky rattan ladders. In 2016, the local government unexpectedly invested a large sum of money into this godforsaken village, and a new steel ladder was built. However, you will still have to overcome 2,556 steps, almost 3 kilometers long. The magnificent new ladder cost almost $150,000, and the path home for the villagers has become much safer. Moreover, it has attracted tourists. Now people are everywhere with their selfie sticks. For locals, living here means being more collected. Imagine if you've already descended and then remember that you left your phone or wallet at home. One of the most popular attractions in China near the city of Datun in Jiangxi province is a man-made structure that is up to 1,500 years old, located 75 meters above the ground, at the level of a high-rise building. Every day, a river of pilgrims flows here, and it's not surprising. This is a unique place in China where 3 religious concepts are combined in one temple built on the slope of a cliff: Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism. Although the construction appears to be hanging in the air, it is nevertheless firmly attached to the rock by huge oak beams screwed into the bedrock. So far, no one has complained about creaking or instability of the galleries. Let's hope that many more tourists will visit this famous temple. To reach this wonderful place, a fearless visitor must overcome more than 8,000 steps, quite a long way just to take a peek at the temple on the mountain's peak. In the Wuling Mountains in southwestern China, in Sichuan province, there is a unique natural phenomenon, a rocky spire made of 2 halves, known as Red Cloud Peak, and it supports 2 small Buddhist temples connected by a bridge through the sky. The construction history spans more than 500 years, and can you imagine how Buddhists managed to lift the construction material up this vertical cliff? It remains a mystery to this day, as even carrying one's own body and a small backpack here already requires incredible effort. Not long ago, the structures were reinforced with modern materials to withstand strong winds at altitude, and the temple is, of course, a popular place for flying drones, although the wind doesn't help them either. Whereas you and I don't necessarily have to climb all day to appreciate this incredible creation and enjoy the views of the incredible temple and the pristine nature around it. This unique sanctuary was built in Italy, at an elevation of more than 600 meters above sea level, right next to a vertically steep cliff. The cathedral is located almost at the top of the cliff, and from one side it is definitely well protected, but it is unclear how they managed to build it on such a narrow rock ledge in the Monte Baldo Mountains in the Italian Alps. Originally, this extraordinary place was meant to be a sanctuary for holy people who wanted to withdraw from the world just to be silent, and the church itself was built in the year 1530, and ultimately, the number of people wanting to withdraw and be silent for at least a few minutes has become much greater. Now anyone can make a pilgrimage here and contemplate divine beauty and unity with the mountain landscape. You just have to climb up a narrow staircase to the only square where the complex is located, which has somehow survived the turbulence of the 20th century. This unique settlement is located in Cambodia, on the largest freshwater lake in all of Southeast Asia. Lake Tonle Sap serves as a floating home not just for a large amount of fish, but also for, I don't know how to call it, communities with a total population of around 1 million people. Yes, they live in boathouses on the surface of the water, and the reason for choosing this place to live is the lake itself, one of the most fish-rich places on Earth. Up to 200 species of fish inhabit Lake Tonle Sap. It's freshwater and lacks sharks or crocodiles. This expansive area can even be conditionally divided into several populated areas, one of which is Chongneus Village, where around 1,000 families live. These people live and work on the lake, and to some extent, Their lifestyle is exploited by the tourism industry. It is not a very ethical practice when tourists regularly interfere in your daily life just to see how you live here. The locals are neither cold nor hot about this. Another question is how they have managed to set up a sewage and drinking water system, given that the lake is the same reservoir. Probably since they have not left the lake for so many years, they have somehow solved this dilemma too. Ponte Vecchio in Florence is one of the most visited tourist spots in Italy. In Italian, this means simply Old Bridge, describing the structure itself, whereas until the year 1218, it was the only bridge in Florence over the river Arno. The current version of the bridge has been standing here since the year 1345. Let's call it the New Old Bridge, as the original was destroyed in a flood and a new one had to be built in the 14th century. It still stands today, and its area is filled with houses, giving the bridge street a unique appearance. Actually, it's an ancient European tradition. Markets were always located on bridges, read Zuskin's novels. Meat and fish stalls, as well as leather goods, were traded here. Convenient to throw waste into the river, isn't it? But in the year 1593, a decree was issued, according to which only jewelers were allowed to place their shops on the bridge. A good advantage, as the bridge remained the only crossing. Interestingly, the wealthy and powerful Medici dynasty, which ruled the city for generations, used the bridge for private purposes. Ponte Vecchio served as a corridor for them to move between their palaces. The family used their own elevated gallery so as not to descend onto the street and avoid contact with society, not to see the dirty and unkempt beggars, and not to stain their Saffiano leather shoes with manure from the pavement. Hallstatt is the name of a picturesque Austrian village, and you might rightly wonder what it is doing in China. The simple truth is that a Chinese Hallstatt exists. It's an exact replica, fully reconstructed in China in the province of Guangdong. Why was it needed on the other side of the world, and for what purpose? The fact is that China has a habit of entertaining itself in this way. A team of architects periodically recreates certain famous and not so famous structures on the scale of an entire settlement. They think not in terms of individual buildings, but an entire urban plan. In various places across the country, full-size replicas of such famous structures as the Pyramid of Khufu and the Eiffel Tower have been erected, Venetian canals have been cut, and why not have a cute Austrian village? The European original has stood in Austria for hundreds of years and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, while the replica was built in 2012, and both places are extremely fairy tale-like. People live here permanently, and the idea was to successfully sell property in this region to wealthy Chinese who, for various reasons, could not acquire it in Europe. What replica would you like to see near your place of residence? Perhaps Big Ben? Have you ever thought that people in the past chose the most inconvenient places on Earth for building their temples, as if trying to prove something in such a strange way? Now let's visit perhaps the most inconvenient and highest of places, a whole country of monasteries in Greece called Meteora. This complex was built many centuries ago on top of gigantic fingers, rock formations with epic views of the sea and surrounding landscape. The very word Meteora translates from Greek as between heaven and earth, an incredibly appropriate name for the 6 functioning monasteries hanging in the air. Here live a few monks or nuns, and the monasteries themselves received UNESCO World Heritage status in 1988 and remain at the top of tourism charts with a must-visit note. So head to Greece for the holy sites. Thanks to drones, this area is experiencing a new revival. You can endlessly admire their fantastic beauty. A lone rock in the middle of a river and a house on it looks like an episode from a collection of stories, as if the flood swept away the cabin and brought it here, like in a fairy tale. The house on the Drina River in Serbia will tell its story right now. In the summer of 1968, a group of friends were swimming in the river and they wanted to rest on a rocky island. The rocks themselves were sharp and prickly, so they decided to bring some things here and build a temporary shelter. It all started with a few boards so that they could lie down, then a few more to escape the heat, and then the idea was born. Next summer, one of the friends began construction. Friends transported materials by kayak, and slowly but surely the place began to take shape. The problem was that the Drina River showed a stubborn character and washed away no less than 6 versions of new houses. But each time the friends' intentions strengthened until they built something stable. Now their creation has become famous in the area and even attracts thousands of visitors. They prove to the river that there is nothing more persistent than someone's fixed idea. The floating house on the coast of the Tofino district in British Columbia is an ecologically clean plot with a lake in the forest and a real bay of freedom. This is the name of the estate project created by the creative couple of artists, Catherine King and Wayne Adams. They made this eco-oasis their dream home and have been developing it since 1992. Here there is a picture gallery, dance floor, lighthouse, greenhouses, solar panels, generator, and everything is painted in an unusual range of colors, turquoise and fuchsia. The most creative combination, a little unusual for local nature but very bright. This is an autonomous farm, independent of any state power grids, and you can get here from the nearest city by boat in just 45 minutes. Edlidai Island is the 3rd largest in the Icelandic archipelago, and it looks like an iron sticking out in the middle of the ocean, deserted and completely covered with green. Who came up with the idea to build a lonely house here? Probably the most homeless house on our list, in the literal sense of the word. Looks like a plot from a detective novel, doesn't it? No wonder this place is shrouded in rumors and stories. In reality, everything is much more prosaic. The island was once considered an excellent place for people obsessed with bird hunting. A species called puffins are abundant here, and someone takes great pleasure in coming here to shoot them. Sounds terrible, but the riddle of the house is obvious. It is neither a secret millionaire residence nor a retreat for a religious hermit, and not even the property of the singer Björk. It's just a hunting lodge, built in 1953 for all nature enthusiasts to hang out without neighbors. Today, this lodge can only be used by members of the official hunting society and not by any person off the street who fancies shooting some birds. You may be familiar with the name Gondor, the White City, from Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy. However, we are now in a real place in Yemen called Al-Hajara. This small, ancient town is unlike any other and holds a significant place in Yemen's history. The village was built in the 12th century as a fortification during the occupation by the Ottoman Empire, and these multi-story buildings became the first skyscrapers in history. They are situated on mountain slopes close to each other, and the lower parts of the buildings have no windows. The mini-fortress-like construction in each building was designed to protect against invaders. The fact that the entire complex still stands strong speaks to the quality and strength of these ancient fortifications. In southern Tunisia, there is a settlement unlike any other. It reminds us of troglodytes, cave people. But what we see here are not miserable holes, but almost palaces, albeit built not from marble, but from earth. This famous tourist attraction is the city of Matmata, located on the very edge of the Sahara Desert among palm trees and olive groves. It was indeed built without stone and wood, using available materials like sand and clay. Its houses are literally dug into the earth and form almost a labyrinth inhabited for centuries by the indigenous people of North Africa. To escape the heat, houses are essentially buried around a central courtyard with a well, and they contain several small rooms or chambers connected by passages, stairs, or tunnels. Would you like to live in such a shelter? Write to us in the comments what you think about these constructions. In the middle of the Australian outback, where nobody has gone on a tour for hundreds of years, and where there is nothing of interest except plots of scorched land stretching for many miles, and where, aside from rare snakes, no one lives, there is still one notable place. But it is not on the ground, but under it. It is a miner's town, and they indeed live underground. Kuberpidi is the name of this mine where opals are extracted. Getting there will take 8 hours of driving from Adelaide to the south or to Alice Springs to the north. Many of the town's residents live in houses resembling dugouts or caves. This helps them somewhat stabilize the climate, which ranges from freezing cold to scorching sun. Yes, seasons in the Australian desert are no joke. These homes may look unusual, but they are not uncomfortable. They are quite modern and well-equipped, full of life, and why not? If people have learned to solve problems, they must be resourceful, skillful, and cheerful if they continue to exist in one of the harshest places in Australia. In Bucharest, the capital of Romania, hundreds of people live in the sewer system. Around 1,100 teenagers are children of the underground who have ended up there due to dire conditions. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Romania's economy also plummeted, resulting in more unemployed and impoverished families whose children sought solace in underground culture and gained access to drugs. Many orphanages simply closed down, and where could the homeless children go if the state just abandons them? Whole generations of teenagers join the ranks of marginalized layers. In these pit tunnels beneath the city, you can find anything from a place to sleep to a drug den. They simply have no other option, and these desperate people are forced to accept horrific living conditions. Only one charitable organization provides them with basic medical care, and the government does not care about them. This former military platform in the North Sea is located approximately 12 kilometers off the coast of England and proudly proclaims itself as the Principality of Sealand since 1967. The author of the Micronation Project, Paddy Roy Bates, was not officially recognized as either a prince or a count, but nonetheless, the platform stands there, rusting and intended for his heirs. It was built by the British during World War II and then taken over by radio pirates until Bates occupied it. In 1978, he even managed to repel an attack by mercenaries. However, Sealand has not gained the status of a sovereign microstate and is technically located in British waters. Still, this whole crazy story resembles a game or a movie plot. Probably not the most convenient place to live, no nearby stores, and the landscape is not idyllic. The ocean roars so much that you can't even listen to the radio. But someone still wanted to live even here. Have you ever had the desire to visit any of these strange places? Or on the contrary, did you look around your apartment and appreciate all the advantages? Actually, humans are mysterious creatures. They always end up in some sort of excessive endeavor. Let us know your thoughts and impressions in the comments below, and see what else we have prepared for you. Other interesting episodes that will make us all look at the world anew. You've been with the channel Top Facts. Goodbye to everyone.